everybody, welcome to another episode of Staff Connections. I'm your host, Bill Culp, and you know the routine here. What it is and the basis of it is, it's a glimpse into somebody that works in your district, where you live, and who's making a difference every day. Quite simply, it's because they and you matter. And joining me today is one of my favorites, Mrs. Kinney. How are you there, Elena Kinney?
Hey, Bill Culp, how are you?
I'm really
great.
good. Now, Elena, this is one of those, I'll tell you what, I've known you for years, but seeing some of your answers, I will say this before we get into the interview. We could do a mini-series on you. It's pretty interesting, some of the facts and the background and things like that. So right into it, you grew up in Queens.
Yeah, Queens, New York.
Queens, New York. So you were you were in the city in Queens, and you went to, public school, and you kind of talk about that life there.
Well, I didn't go to public school. I went to Catholic school.
Excuse me, yeah.
I went to Catholic school. At that time, education was actually free because it was the nuns were teaching it. But as my parents wanted us into the public school system, it was extremely violent. This was back in the early 70s, and it was lots of stabbings and so forth. So we didn't have the money, but we went to, my brothers and I, we went to private Catholic schools, high schools, and then I went all through my education in Catholic school.
And it was an all-girls school, correct?
It was an all-girls. Most of the schools in New York at that time were all-girl or all-boy Catholic high schools. Yes,
Nice.
Very, very rare to have a co-ed education.
So when you said it was, in a sense, it was dangerous, in Queens, did you, basically play outside in the streets and things like that? Did you guys go out a lot as kids? You probably so much going on in Queens.
As a city kid, you learn how to live it, and the community changed. It was one way as I was very young, and then it just kept on evolving. My area that I lived in was a lovely area that my dad, it was his home when he grew up. But by the time we were teenagers, there were bars on the windows. There was windows, doors, everything. Where I went to school, it was a neighborhood of a lot of industry, shops and things like that. We had no fears. We just learned how to be with people.
Be with people.
Totally be
the
with
city.
people, but you never let your guard down at
Gotcha.
all. Yeah.
All right. You talked about in the neighborhood, the switch. You come all the way here. How long have you been teaching in Pennsylvania in this district?
I started teaching in Pennsylvania in 1980. I went to Immaculata College, and my first job I got was in Narberth, and I was a real fish out of water. I did not belong on the main line. And I stayed in Catholic education for almost 20 years. And it was back in 1999 that Springford hired me, but as a part-timer. And because we were on a 5-day schedule here, I still stayed part-time in Catholic school and part-time in Springford. So I was doing both systems at the same time. I couldn't do that now with the 6-day cycle, or I should say a part-time person couldn't.
Clothes had to change since the 80s. You had to go through a couple changes there with your wardrobe, right? It's the bell bottoms and
Well, I have to say it's for the better. Kids dress a lot better than we did back then. The 60s and the 70s, it was definitely a good time for clothes. But the name brands really started to take over in the 70s, which you didn't have it in the 60s. And, the 80s is just completely different. Yeah.
So music, when did you kind of get the sense that you love music? You said you've kind of always, in a sense, loved it. Is it somebody inspire you when you were younger? Your parents always listening to it?
My mother's the greatest influence on us in music, my family. She couldn't play. She's not really a good singer. But both together, we listened in the house to Frank Sinatra and West Side Story and La Boheme. That was played constantly in the house, and we had Italian opera being played. And so my mom gave us, my brothers and I, piano lessons, and that's where my love of music started.
Nice. I don't really care if you could sing or if you had the talent, as long as you love what you do, right?
Exactly.
I love to sing too. I'm terrible at it, but I like to sing. As long as you like to sing, it's a love.
Because I'm not a singer at all.
That's okay. All right. So you're married. You got some kids. Tell us a little bit about that.
I met my husband in 7 months, we were engaged. 8 months later, we were married. It was fast, and we've been married almost 36 years. We knew immediately from the first date. And Bill and I are completely different from each other. He grew up out in the state of Washington in a desert, and here I grew up on concrete in the city. So we are way
Opposites
different.
attract.
Opposite, but he's a musician. His family was musical, very, very talented musically. Our children are not musical. They were like, we're not being what you and Dad are. And so I've got 3. I've got a daughter who's an English teacher in Massachusetts, teaches 8th grade. A son who's just finishing his PhD in chemistry at Virginia Commonwealth University. He's married. My daughter's married. Just 2 kids got married this past year. And then my son, Andrew, is our youngest. He's 24, and he's a computer science, informational technology. And he still can't believe I know nothing about computers.
It's nice to know your kids are doing something though. They're doing something positive, right? It's a good
Yeah,
thing.
they're athletes, and my daughter was a ballerina for
All
quite
right,
a
speaking
number
of
of
that,
years.
I know you love wrestling. I mean,
Oh,
what
love it.
draws you? Was it because your kids, or were you always drawn to wrestling?
My son Andrew, the youngest, went into wrestling, and I learned how to be a wrestling mom real fast. And we live in Owen-J. Roberts, and passionate people. Very passionate people, and he was successful. Nothing like having your son being successful, and I just love the sport. Just finished watching the college championships over this weekend out in Pittsburgh, and I am always interested when someone tells me they're a wrestler. Yeah.
And you're an avid. You love the bike. You and your husband. I know you like to bike. I mean, where do you guys road? Where do you guys usually go? And how
Well,
long have you been doing that?
We've been cycling for 35 years. He got into competitive cycling. I never did, and we were road riders. And because he's had a lot of accidents now, we are now on the path. Definitely on the path. I really, there's too many distractions out there. So we definitely just stay right to the path. And he'll go out with the guys. And now that my tender age of, well, I won't say, I'm tired of the hills of Chester County.
It's beautiful though.
It's beautiful. I do miss it. I miss it an awful lot. But the path doesn't do it for me, but it's exercise at this point. And then I took up kayaking too. And I really like kayaking, as long as the lake is flat.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, I agree. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the other things I found interesting, if you weren't teaching, you kind of said you always thought you'd be a surgeon
I'd
or
be a
something like you try to
surgeon.
be a surgeon.
I have the greatest respect for the medical profession. I have a brother who is an anesthesiologist, and I envied him for his profession, and I wished I had that higher intelligence in the sciences. I guess now I have a son who's at that level. So, but I think that being a surgeon is probably the greatest profession to be. You're saving lives.
I agree.
Is
It is.
every
It's
day.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
How steady's your hand?
It's still good.
Still good?
Yeah.
Let's test it out.
Oh,
I brought
no.
operation here there, Miss Kinney. Elena. So what I'm going to do is give you a minute to try to get as many of these guys.
You can't
these-
do this to me,
Oh,
Bill.
I can
Oh,
do
I'm
it.
going to have to think of something to get
Yeah,
back at you
yeah.
about.
Here we
You're
go.
going to start
You
singing
got
arias.
1 minute, so it's going to buzz. This is going to buzz. This is on.
Wait,
baby.
I've never
This is-
used this.
Yeah, this is, well, you're a
Okay.
surgeon, you got to do.
All right, I got to. Oh, where am I? Okay. You're too
Oh, look
much
at that
for
red
the-
nose.
Oh,
it's
no,
like real.
can't get that
I don't
one.
know.
Oh.
This is what
You
a surgeon
glued them
goes through every
down.
day.
You
You're like
glued-
George Clooney. Dr. Marcus
I
Welby
don't
here.
know. You
I
set
did
me
not
up here.
glue them down. This is what you got to do for 17 hours. Doing a great
17
job.
hours, yeah, but I would be paying an awful lot
You
of
did
money
great.
to do
You
this.
did great. You
There
almost got the
go.
bone. This
We're
is
done.
operation's a lot harder than it looks.
But there's no blood. See, I didn't
No,
tell you that.
no, that's
I don't
good. You
like blood
did, you
either.
did good work. He looks fine. He looks fine. All right. So, like I said, just some interesting facts. Growing up in New York, one of the things I found and I saw that was really interesting was your grandfather was a butcher, and in a sense, what to do if you
Yes.
if you had to meet and things like that. I mean, did he kind of like make you watch, or
My
what's interesting with that?
grandfather came from Italy when he was 3, and that was the profession of his father. And my grandfather had a 5th grade education and worked till the age of 65. And he said, after I got my college degree, which he thought was absolutely worthless, he says, but you don't know how to cut up a chicken. And so after I came back from college, he taught me how to cut up a chicken. He says, well, maybe with that music degree, you can make a living, he says, but you got to know how to feed yourself. And so that was a skill that he taught me, and so I could cut a chicken up, fillet the whole bit.
Look
Yes.
at that. Better
yeah.
watch Mrs. Kinney here.
You
Elena
better
Kinney.
believe
All
it.
right.
Hey,
So
don't mess with
was
me.
he more Sam the Butcher or more of like Gangs of New York the Butcher?
Funny you asked that. Back then, he was approached by the mafia often for protection. You did that
Oh,
back
see?
then. But he was,
good with that.
he had owned 3 stores, but he wasn't quite the businessman. But if you walked in with money, he made you pay. If you didn't, he gave you a bag of groceries.
Nice,
So
nice.
he's, many of the men in the family became butchers.
Oh,
It
that's
was a
awesome.
great profession.
And you're not you kind of were shy about the cameras here, but you used to do some videography and things like that for.
Still photography. I was a professional photographer for 20 years. That's how I got my job here in Springford.
awesome.
Someone called me and for photography, and they said, there's a job opening here and about music. But I did that for 20 years.
All right.
Gave it up about 10 years ago.
Speaking of that, perfect segue for the last question, getting into Springford. You've been here for many, many years. Let's say 10, 15 years, whenever. You can retire in 40 years, whatever you want. What do you want Elena Kinney's legacy to be? What do you want the kids and those, parents who've gone through the district to remember about you?
I think the greatest thing that they could remember is that I just brought so much joy to the children here, and that they remember just the fun that they've had in different aspects in my classroom. But that fun's coming close to the end. It's getting there.
That's
It's
okay.
getting there, yeah.
We appreciate you having giving us a little fun here, Elena. All right. Hey, got a little glimpse of Elena Kinney here. And if you see her on the streets, make sure, maybe ask her to do some work with some chickens that you got, or something else, or ask her about a music question. But whatever, thanks for joining us here on Staff Connections. Until next time.